All right, everybody. You are live, and we are live. This is myself, Mike Valentine. I am the Cleat Geek, and this is Moneybags. It even says Moneybags under his name there. Moneybags, Mitch Middlebrook, right here with you today for the 643 and Out Guys version of the Sportz Truth. All right, so we will get into it. We've already got people jumping on with us. Certainly appreciate that. I see our special guest is with us as well. So, um, Thomas, can you hear me, buddy? Yeah? All right, good. All right. He says I can hear you like he thinks, okay, there's the thumbs up. I haven't brought him up here yet with us, but we'll get to him in just a moment. Let's go ahead and, Mitch, I know you've been busy this week, buddy. Talk to me about your busy week. It's been nuts for me, too, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah, it's been wild. Just got back from another wedding last night. This one a little more important than the other ones. My brother got married over the weekend to an amazing woman. So
Yeah, you better say amazing.
his wife now, Kylie. Congratulations to them. And yeah, it was a good time being back in Wisconsin, getting out of the Phoenix heat for a little bit. But glad to be back.
All right, excellent. So we've touched base a little bit with Mitch. We have touched base with our fans. Now let's give us our walk-up music, and then we'll bring on our special guest of the day. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to jump into this pretty quick here. This is the Sportz Truth. Myself, Mike Valentine, Mitch Middlebrook. We are the 643 and Out Guys. Where did you get 643 and out? Let me tell you, 643 like a double play in baseball, and 3 and out like you can't get a first down in football. We took those two terms, we smashed them together because that's what we talk about: major and minor league baseball and college and pro football. So we came up with the 643 and Out Guys. We are on Twitter right now, obviously, because if you're listening to us, you're with us. We have our YouTube channel coming. We've got our Facebook channel coming. We're not quite as good as our special guest yet because he's on one of these big-time national podcasts, but we're getting there. We promise. All right. So we like sportspc.com as well. Both of us are involved in that. We got a bunch of articles up there, and we'll talk about that in a few moments. And we will bring on our special guest. He is from the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. I tell you what, without further ado, let me click the right button, and here he comes. Oh, look at the background. Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Doing good. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So, while the music keeps playing in the background, we'll give you a chance here, bud. Tell us your name and where you're from.
Millard Thomas, host of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Originally, though, from the East Coast, the New Jersey area, so didn't actually grow up out here in Arizona.
Gotcha, but you live out here now, right?
Yeah, live out here now. Yeah, been out here since 2016.
All right, so give us a quick 30-second here. I know that the Diamondback game just concluded. I'm pretty sure they won. They were winning a few minutes ago.
Yep.
Give me your 30-second impression of the game today, sir.
Oh, it was once again trying to hold off the pesky Miami Marlins, who almost gave us a scare in game one, but thankfully the D-backs were able to come through. Courtesy of Corbin Carroll, continues his power streak. Lourdes Gurriel tapped in some power today. We got some great defense. And of course, the closer, Justin Martinez, shut it down in the ninth.
All right, buddy. Well, you are excited here. So we are excited to have you. We're gonna jump into some great Diamondbacks talk here in just a moment. Like I said, Mike Valentine, Mitch Middlebrook, Millard Thomas here with us today. That is how you say it, right? Millard, right? I'm not going to mess your name up, right?
Millard.
How did you get Millard out of that?
You know, that's like the 13th president right there, Millard Fillmore. Based
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's not that common, but yeah, we do got a president in our lineage, so shout out to him back in 18 whatever.
There you go. All right, Millard. Excellent. So, buddy, what a series. We're going to jump right into our Diamondbacks talk here. Mitch and I will stay right here with you. So what a difference a series makes, especially in the eyes of the fans, right? I mean, but realistically, what do the fans expect, right? You lost Gabriel Moreno, you lost Christian Walker, you've lost Ketel Marte, and, it's not that the offense is terrible, but it's also going to suffer just simply because you've lost those guys. So I'm going to ask Millard first. Which of these players have been the most difficult one to replace? So do you think it's Ketel Marte with Blaze Alexander? We'll talk about a new addition they made here in just a little bit. Blaze Alexander's not even with the team right at the moment, but we'll get to that. How about Gabriel Moreno with Adrian Del Castillo or Christian Walker with Josh Bell? Which one of these three has been the hardest ones to replace? And since you're our special guest, sir, we'll start with you.
Yeah, it's so easy. This one's an easy answer for me. It's a little bit of a layup. I have to go with the Ketel Marte Blaze. Not only is Ketel Marte the best player that we're missing, but also the downgrade is the biggest as well, because at least you still got established major league veteran Josh Bell for Christian Walker. And then Adrian Del Castillo has just taken baseball over in the few amount of games he's played since getting called up. So it's like you've gotten like 90% facsimile of the guys that were already there with your replacements. It's that Ketel Marte to Blaze Alexander drop off that hurts the most, because Marte in the second half of the season, I mean, he had an incredible first half, only turned it up in the second half. You look at the FanDuel odds, he's running away with second place in the MVP voting because, of course, Otani's the runaway favorite. But if you're talking about second place in the MVP voting, it's Ketel Marte. Then it's like a Grand Canyon in terms of the odds.
Mitch, what do you think, buddy? Which one of those three, Ketel Marte, Gabriel Moreno, Christian Walker, is the hardest one to replace right at the moment?
No, yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I think originally when you look at this list of names, you'd probably think Christian Walker, especially losing that defense. But Josh Bell is been really great for them, and obviously being a veteran presence, they don't lose as much there. Going from Ketel to Blaze, obviously a huge difference both in play and leadership, and kind of what they're bringing to the clubhouse. So yeah, definitely missing Ketel the most, but Christian Walker losing that defense hurts too.
So, gentlemen, they won 9 games in a row, mostly without those guys that we just talked about above. So, Walker's return is going to be late August, they're saying. Moreno is, quote unquote, weeks and not days, right? As far as what Torey Labello has said when he got injured way back then. So, what are we going to do from point A to point B? Who's going to have to step up? And I copied this a little bit off of our special guest. I listened to his podcast, today's podcast, and he was saying the same thing on his podcast, right? Which is Locked On Diamondbacks. Where can we get that at, Miller?
Yeah, wherever you stream podcasting platforms, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, we're on everything.
Yeah, see, he's a big time guy. He's on everything. We're on one spot, but we'll get there, buddy. We'll get there.
You guys are crushing it. I've seen your guys' work. You guys are crushing it.
Hey, I appreciate the compliment. I really do. I'm sure Mitch appreciates it as well. He's smiling behind that mustache. You just can't quite see it. Okay. So, how did they do it? How did they win 9 games in a row, Mitch, without these guys? Who stepped up? What did they do different?
Well, it's really everybody stepping up. It's Corbin Carroll keeping that power going, and kind of getting back to where he was, last year in his outstanding rookie year. But it's everybody picking it up where they can. And this team, Jake McCarthy's had such a great year. But every piece is just stepping up where they need him to, especially right now. They've been on a tear since in the second half of the season. And they're obviously continuing that now. It's really good to see.
All right, Miller, give us your opinion, buddy. What have they done to make sure that they have been able to win all these games here? And like you said, they just won the first game against the Miami Marlins. They have now won the second game. We're going for a 3-game sweep again. What have they done with these guys out of the lineup?
Yeah, I think we've seen the D-backs really tap into their power recently. That's not something that they had in abundance of last year. They're kind of middle of the pack. This season so far, you got Jock Peterson, who's been crushing it. He's having a him off with Jake McCarthy, who's also been one of the hottest hitters in Major League Baseball in the second half of the season. So now you got Corbin Carroll tapping into the power. Eugenio Suarez has really gotten going since July. I think you've seen some of your players who are struggling earlier in the year, the Carrolls, the Suarezes, those guys are starting to get going. Now with the Martes and Walkers out, you're really seeing those guys shine. But I think the guy that we need to see step up the most is pretty much the only everyday D-backs player with a sub 100 WRC plus since June 29th. That is Lourdes Gurriel. He's the only guy you could look at, like every dude in the lineup has at least been average by WRC plus the last 2 months. Lourdes Gurriel is like the only one who hasn't. So if we can get his back going, we saw the home run in the game today against the Marlins. This offense still has an opportunity to go to another level, which is crazy to say considering they're number 1 in runs scored.
Right. WRC plus, look out. We're getting stats already. Weighted runs created plus. And Mr. Thomas down here pulling them things out for us. So
we go into Fangraphs every now and then. We dabble.
We dabble. We dabble. I'm gonna have to use that. Can I use that one going forward? We dabble. I kind of like that. All right, that's my free of charge thing for the day. All right, good deal. All right, we have a comment up here, so let's get to that real fast. I didn't see it at first, so let's see what we got. We are going to show that to you, and if you guys would like to be part of the show, there it is, right down there at the bottom. You can be. Simply put the comments up here in the top right-hand side, and you'll be able to be part of the show, as we'll show them here up on the air. Paula says the Diamondbacks are on fire. I want to look at this schedule for a second, gentlemen. I think this is going to be an interesting topic of conversation for a moment. Most fans see the schedule and cringe, right? I look at it as a real test and an opportunity for this Diamondback club to actually be able to control their own destiny. And if you'll give me just a second, I'm going to go through this schedule real fast. It's going to take me a moment, but I want to hit this home. So we got 3 in Miami, 3 in Boston. The homestand with 3 against the Mets, 4 against the Dodgers. Then we go 3 San Francisco. We do 3 at Houston. Then their first day off in that whole stretch. There's not many days off. Only 2 left in the regular season for the Diamondbacks. Then they have a homestand that gives you Texas for 2, Milwaukee for 3. Then they go at Colorado for 3. Then they go at Milwaukee for 4. Come back home, 3 with the Giants. There's their second off day. 3 versus the Padres. So if you take out the Miami series, and knowing in their final 34 games that 29 of their final 34 games are against teams with a winning record, what will the D-backs record be in those 34 games? Mitch, let's start with you, buddy. What's that record going to be in those 34 games?
Oof, that's going to be a tough stretch for them to finish out the season for sure, especially as you mentioned, only 2 off days until the end of the season. The exact record, I mean, it might be 34-0. They keep this streak up. No, it is going to be a really tough stretch for them, but the way they're playing right now, I think they're gonna finish the season strong, especially if they can keep up what they're doing. Really, the only 2 gimme series is going to be the Rockies and maybe just the Rockies. The Rangers, maybe the Astros might not be too difficult, but the rest of them, especially those 7 games against the Brewers, are going to be really crucial for this team to play well in.
Now wait a minute. Let me interrupt.
Not just because of the Brewers.
Yeah, but you see, our special guest doesn't know that Mitch Middlebrook is a big Milwaukee Brewers fan, even though he's got the Diamondback shirt on right now, and that's because we're all representing our stuff today because of what we're doing here. But he's a big Milwaukee Brewers fan. So Mitch, as I cut you off here, give me a number. What are they going to do? Give me a number. The last 34 games, and I'm going to turn it over to Miller.
I guess if I had to,
well, you have to because I'm going to
22-12.
22-12. All right, let's take it down to our Locked On Diamondbacks guy. Let him tell us what's going on. What do you think, buddy?
Yeah, the D-backs is not going to be an easy road. I actually talked a little bit about this on the podcast yesterday because if you just sort best records in baseball since June 1st, D-backs number 1, but then 6 of the next 7 opponents after that are all teams the D-backs have to face down the stretch. So it's going to be a gauntlet. But I would like to think the D-backs have already gone through a gauntlet the last couple months, taking down the Dodgers, the Padres, the Phillies, the Guardians, the Royals. They've beaten all the best teams in Major League Baseball already. They have a 65% winning percentage since June 1st. So I would like to believe the D-backs are going to probably come down off that a little bit, especially with the injuries that we're seeing. I think the D-backs are going to finish right below 90 wins. I'm going to give them 89 wins and potentially that number 1 or number 2 wildcard spot. I don't know exactly what record that is. I think they have 71 wins right now. So let's add 18 more wins for the rest of the season.
All right. So your total's a little bit lower than Mitch's. I'm going to kind of go in between just because it's a nice round number. I'm going to give you 20 and 14 in the next 34. So, yes, it's a gauntlet. But I also believe, as I kind of did in the intro for this question here, I really think that you want to go into the playoffs playing the best teams and knowing you can beat those teams instead of kind of backing your way into the playoffs by playing miserable teams and being like, okay, well, we beat the bad ones. Anybody can beat the bad ones. It's can you beat the good ones? And we're going to find that out here over the next 34 games with the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks now have their rotation intact. So now that they have that rotation intact, how would you line up the 5 starters from 1 to 5. Um, you know what? Let's start with our special guest here. So there's the question at the bottom of the screen. Now the Diamondbacks have the rotation intact. How would you line up those 5 starters from 1 to 5? Or let me give you a bonus, and I'm going to tease my answer here a little bit. Would you go 1 to 6? Go ahead, sir.
Mm. That is a good question. For me, if we're talking about the regular season, I will keep it with 6 just because right now I'm going with the Gallon, Merrill Kelly, Brandon Pfaadt, typical 1, 2, 3. I'm going
Mhm.
Erod number 4 for right now in regular season. Then I'll keep it to that 6-man rotation because Ryan Dillon has been so good this year. He's quite literally been the best D-backs pitcher over the last couple months. He has like a 2.7 ERA since like June 1st or whatever. Like he's been fantastic. Maybe that's since July 1st. I don't remember off the top of my head, but he's been so good for the D-backs recently. And for Jordan Montgomery, he's been more up and down. We could still use it as an audition for, do we want him in the postseason rotation? Do we even want to bring him back next season? So I think the 6-man rotation for the regular season is quality for right now. But then when you get to that postseason, I'm even opening up that number 4 door. I mean, Ryan Nelson really has been so good. Like, I think it should even be a conversation between he and Erod right now, because I don't want to just hand it to Erod. The contract says he should get it, but with the way Ryan Nelson has pitched this season, if he's actually better than Erod entering the playoffs, I think you have to give the ball to the better pitcher at that point of the year.
All right. I like what he said. Mitch, are you going to back him up, or are you going to go somewhere different, buddy?
No, yeah, I completely agree. They got to keep riding the hot hands, and just because the contracts of Erod and Jordan Montgomery doesn't mean we need to play them. If Ryan Nelson and Brandon Pfaadt keep doing what they're doing, these guys have proven themselves this year, especially that they can compete, and they are major league pitchers, and they've done a really good job. I don't think you can turn away from them now when we're getting to the end of the season and considering playoffs. I think you got to ride the hot hand and keep doing what we're doing. Definitely finished with the 6-man rotation to end the season, and then reevaluate in the playoffs. But I really think, especially if Ryan Nelson keeps up what he's doing, move him into the 4 spot, like Millard said, and move Erod back.
All right. So, well, I mean, we're all agreeing with Millard here a little bit, but I want to do at least for the time. Stop laughing. I want to do at least for the time being. I would like to entertain this thought of a 6-man rotation, if you would please. Why not? Why can't you save some of these innings, right? Because you had Zach Gallen, you had Kelly last year, who pitched, especially Gallen, who pitched a lot of innings. Why wouldn't you want to limit that if you can? And it's not like these are terrible starting pitchers. We've got a good group of starters here, and we've also got a really good bullpen. We'll talk about that here in just a moment as well. But I mean, for me, I would go. Gallen, and then I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm going to go Merrill Kelly second. I thought about that one for a few minutes, but he's not pitched a whole lot, and he didn't look good the other night when he pitched. So I'm 2.5, right? But you're right. Brandon Pfaadt needs to be number 3, and mainly because you need to reward the guys who have done well for you this entire season. And I'm actually going to put Erod at 4, Ryan Nelson at 5, or Ryan Nelson at 5. I always say Ryan, and it's spelled Ryne, right? We always do that mixed up. And then Jordan Montgomery as like a far away number 6, right? I would even be, when we get to the playoffs, I don't think Montgomery needs to start. I would bring Montgomery in as your long guy out of the bullpen in case one of the other guys has a bad outing. I would kind of save him back for that. But that's back in the playoffs and things like that. Now, Millard, I know that you do some things here. Again, we know that you're doing the Locked On podcast. People can find that at LO. Those are both capital LO_Diamondbacks to get you on that. And then you also are a graphic designer. Tell us about your graphic designs and where people can reach you out for that service as well.
Oh, yeah. Please go check out my portfolio, millerthomas24.myportfolio.com. On there you see all my latest work. I got my design on there. I got some videos. I got some photos. I was working with the Arizona Coyotes the last 3 years. But if you guys, hockey fans, like you guys saw, the Coyotes were sold to Utah. So unfortunately, we all got let go. So currently a free agent looking for my next opportunity. Also open for freelance if anyone wants to hit the DMs.
All right. So the multi-talented special guest for us here today. With the state of the bullpen, who are you doing for your 7, 8, and closer guys. Who is that going to be for you regular season, and does it change in the postseason as far as how you line up your bullpen? Mitch, let's start with you. I'm sorry, sir. I jumped the gun a little bit, but Mitch, go ahead, buddy.
Well, I think we're pretty much all going to be in agreement on this. These guys have kind of put themselves here, and it's not going to be any surprise. But 7, I think you got to go Thompson, 8 Gink, and then 9 Martinez. They've kind of solidified themselves here. It's good to see that they weren't hesitant to take Sewald out of that closer role when he struggled. I think a lot of teams are too hesitant to do that, and they let a guy struggle for too long. But no, I think these guys have kind of solidified their spots there, barring anything crazy and big long stretches. Every guy's going to go out there and have a bad day every now and again, and you can live with that. But barring any like catastrophic meltdown, I think those are the 3 we'll see.
So now, wait, I know we're going to get off topic on this for just a second, but you don't think that Torey Lovullo was a little hesitant with Paul Sewald? You like him giving him the rope or the reins?
No, I think he definitely was. Probably gave him a little longer of a leash than he should have at times. But again, you don't know if it's a guy going out there and having a few bad outings, or if a guy got the yips. Whatever it may be. Maybe he's just not feeling it right now on the bump. But you got to do something to rebuild that confidence, and not just hope that sticking him in there to close out games when he can't get it done is going to fix it.
All right, Miller, what do you think about 7, 8, and the closer role, sir?
Yeah, definitely agree with my man Mitch. I guess the only question is if it's like
Mitch up here.
yeah, my man. We're close now. We're close. I'm going to be his next +1 to the next wedding he goes to. So I'm looking forward.
Stop it.
But I guess the only question is if it's like the Phillies lineup, do you want to go like AJ Puck over Ryan Thompson if it's like more lefty? But you're definitely going with that 3 as your back end bullpen. The only problem is it doesn't always seem like Torey Lovullo knows like that should be his go-to 3. Like everyone on like D-backs Twitter is like throw Thompson, throw Ginkel, throw Martinez every single night when you have a lead of 3 runs or less, and it doesn't seem like Torey Lovullo has gotten that message. So we would like to see him implement this strategy a little bit more. I think in the bullpen, the one guy we need to see step up a little bit more is Dylan Floro. Acquired him at the deadline. He's been the only guy who's been like the weak link. Everyone else in the bullpen, like I feel good about. Sewald, I don't like in the 9th. But outside of that, he's been solid in the 5th, 6th, even the 7th inning this season. You just can't use him as the closer. So for me, if Dylan Floro can pick it up, because right now he's like that Miguel Castro, Scott McGuff, like weakest link in the bullpen. If he can turn it around, like this is a grade A bullpen entering the postseason.
So then, Miller, do you think that there is a difference in being the closer and being the 6th and 7th inning guy? And if you do believe that, what is it?
I don't know if it's even something you could quantify. It just might be like one of those intangible like pressure things, because I definitely think there's a difference. I think you see with like the Ryan Thompson and the Kevin Ginkles, like those guys are absolutely shut down in the 7th and 8th inning. But whenever you've given Ginkel the closer role the last couple of years, he just doesn't seem to have it. We saw him begin the season as the closer with Sewald out. He didn't have it. And then as soon as we demoted Sewald and gave it to Ryan Thompson, all of a sudden he was giving up earned runs left and right. So I do think there's like a mentality thing for these pitchers, and maybe they feel like a certain pressure when they know like there's only 3 outs left. If I don't get it right now, like the game is going to extend, I could blow it. Like I just think there's a difference going from the 8th or 7th to the 9th inning. I don't know if it's like a thing you can even quantify, but I definitely think it's a thing that you can see when watching these pitchers.
All right, I'm going to go one more question, and I know we're not on the show notes, but I'm gonna hit you with this because we're all professionals. So, if this is the way it really is in a bullpen, right? Then people can't maybe get those last 3 outs or so. What do you think about Martinez getting those last 3 outs, or do you think that one of the off-season things that the Diamondbacks really have to look at is to go out and get an established closer?
No, I think Martinez is the closer of the future. Paul Sewald, pending free agent. We'll even see if the D-backs want to bring him back. But the stuff that Martinez has, I mean, there's not many guys throwing 104 consistently like he is with the splitter that he has. Like all his stuff is nasty, and he's pitching at like the highest level he can right now. So I think Martinez, he's like, I don't know, off the top of my head, like 22, 23 years old. I actually have it pulled up right here. Let's see how old he is. He's 23. So I definitely think he could be the D-backs closer potentially the next decade if everything breaks right.
Right. And ladies and gentlemen, that is what a professional studio looks like. He's got the background all beautiful and he's got all the stats right there in front of him. That's what a professional studio looks like. We're still amateurs, the two guys up here at the top. Okay. So I do want to give Ginkle his credit, though. 31 of his last 36 appearances have been no runs. So Ginkle has done well in that role. Mitch, what about the closer? Do you like Martinez there? Do you not like Martinez there?
No, yeah, I do like Martinez there. I think he's risen to the challenge, and it's really good to see. I think it's his job, and until it's not, his job to lose. Definitely, being so young, if they can get a good relationship with Martinez and keep him in Arizona, I think they'll get a really, really good return on that.
All right, and then I want to ask you about the closer part that I also asked Millard as well. So, is it a different mindset to be a closer? Is it just those final 3 outs that mess with people's heads? Or what is it from 7, 8 to 9?
It really is. I think it comes down to the mindset of it and just being able to kind of turn it off when you're up there. Some guys, you get up there and you're trying to get those final 3 outs and the pressure is just too much. Maybe most nights you can handle it. Maybe you have it for a while and then you lose it. But you kind of see that with Sewald, where he had it for a while, he kind of lost it. If you can build that confidence back up and slot him back in there, then that's great. But sometimes you just can't get it back, and the confidence is shattered beyond repair. And you start putting him in the 5th, 6th, 7th, and he's going to crush it. But every time he now goes back out in the 9th after losing that closer role, it's going to be sitting in the back of his head like, oh, man, they yanked me from this spot before. If I don't produce and close this game out, I'm going to lose it again. And sometimes that can be too much.
All right. Once again, you guys can go up to the top right-hand corner, click on the comment section, put your comments in. We'll put them up here on the screen with us. We love it when you guys are interacting with us here on the Sportz Truth. So today, the Diamondbacks actually made a move. I'm not sure if I understand this. I think I do, and I'm going to kind of explain everything, and then I'm going to ask both of you for your opinions here. So today, the Diamondbacks signed infielder Luis Guillorme. It was his 3rd club so far this year. He's been with Atlanta, and he's been with the Angels. He only hit his slash line 218, 285, 290. That's what he's done so far this year with those 2 teams. That means a weighted run created plus. Here we go with our little stats again. Weighted runs created plus of only 63, and 100 is average. His career is only a 70 weighted runs created plus. And if you look at that, you're like, what in the world are the Diamondbacks doing? Why are they signing him, and why did they demote Blaze Alexander? Well, if you look at it this way, let me give you what these guys do. And both of you know this, and this is kind of where I want the comments on from both of you, because the Diamondbacks love to do matchups, right? They love matchups. Guillorme hits a 98 weighted runs created plus against righties, and Kevin Newman hits a 98 weighted runs created plus against lefties. So they're going to use that matchup while Ketel Marte is not in the lineup. Do you like this move? Do you not like this move? Amar, we're going to start with you, buddy.
Yeah, for me, I just think it's like a nothing move just to get a body in to hold it down until Ketel Marte gets back. I mean, you said the stats. He's not a very good player. It's like when the D-backs bring in our old friend like Sergio Alcantara. Like, you just got to get him in there for a couple of weeks, get him a couple at bats, and then you're going to send him packing once again. So for Guillermo, things exactly like you said. Torey Lovello is obsessed with the platoons. We know Kevin's going to go out there bat against lefties, and we know we're going to see Luis against righties. And then that's going to be the formula until Marte hopefully comes back very soon.
Hopefully that is correct. Mitch, what do you think about that pickup today that the Diamondbacks made?
No, yeah, I think that's spot on. They don't expect him to come in and do anything serious for him. Just kind of right the ship and smooth out things until Ketel can come back. But yeah, they're going to be platooning it, obviously, but they really aren't expecting much, I'm sure, out of a guy like Guillorme. They just hope he can be serviceable.
All right. So now I will give him this. Arizona does only pay a prorated portion of the $740,000 that he's owed. And if they like him and if he stays on the roster through the end of the season, they can also keep him because he can go through the arbitration process at the end of the season, and I'm sure he'll be cheap. Now, whether they'll want him, I see that face. So whether they want him or not is a different story, but they can, gives them the option of being able to get another cheap outfielder if that's what they are after. So we've done all of this. We've said everything that we need to say, I think. Now here comes the big question. Let's put it at the bottom of the screen. Here it is. are the Diamondbacks equipped to make a postseason run? Mitch, let's start with you, bud.
Yeah, definitely. The roster is constructed exactly how they want it, minus the injuries. Hopefully, they start getting these guys back and are at full strength when the postseason rolls around. But yeah, this roster is constructed exactly the way they want it to be. They are poised to make a postseason run for sure, especially with all the different parts meshing like they are right now. If you run into the Diamondbacks in the postseason, just like last year, they're going to be a really hard team to knock out.
All right. How about our special guest down below? What do you think, sir?
Oh yeah, totally agree with Mitch. I mean, are the D-backs maybe the scariest team in terms of like if you're another opponent, like if you're the Phillies or the Dodgers, like is everyone like the team on the number one of my list that I don't want to face in the postseason? Is that the D-backs for like everyone across the board? Because we saw the D-backs going to LA last year, knock them out. We saw them going to Philly, knock them out. Like home field does not matter to the D-backs. This team can travel anywhere. And you took last year's World Series team and you added to it. You don't have the statue of Evan Longoria any longer yet. You got Eugenio Suarez out there now. You added to your rotation with Erod and Monty, and then all of a sudden Ryan Nelson stepping up. Your bullpen is deeper than ever. I just think you have so much depth at every phase of this team. I think they're truly built for the playoffs, and I think they're the scariest team entering the playoffs right now.
All right, so we're going to go to church for a moment, all right? We've never done this on the show before. This is the only time I think we're ever going to do this. But, we got a very special guest with us today, and we're going to go to church for a moment. So I'm going to ask the question, and if you believe that is correct, you're just going to say amen, right? All right, here we go. All right, so can the Diamondbacks, and are they equipped to make a deep postseason run? And we all say amen, right?
Amen.
All right, here we go. Can they make it back to the World Series?
Amen.
Oh,
Amen.
amen. Look at that, all three of us. Okay, good. And I do agree with that. I think they can go back, and we'll go to church for a second, and then we'll hide this question at the bottom real quick. But yes, I do believe that. I even like Mr. Thomas's coming out here and saying, aren't they the scariest team? And I didn't really think about it as far as the scary team. I'm looking at them because I'm a fan of this team. So I'm like, okay, keep going, keep rocking, But yeah, if I'm other teams, now I do want to say, and it's not just because Mitch is here. I think Milwaukee's a little bit of a scary team too, because I look at that team and I keep thinking, how in the world do they keep winning? I understand how the Diamondbacks are winning. They got the best offense in baseball, and they've now got their pitching back. But Milwaukee doesn't. And we're going to talk about Milwaukee here a little bit more when we get into our actual generalized baseball segment here of the show. So I think Milwaukee is also a dangerous team.
Mitch is not going to like my Milwaukee take, unfortunately. I don't have Milwaukee.
Well, I mean, I can be a fan and also be, critical. And that offense is nothing to be scared of. I mean, they get hot and they get cold. And in the playoffs, you got to be as steady as you can. If they go out and they get cold like they always do in the postseason, they could easily be swept and have a series stolen from them. So I think that's the difference why people won't be as scared of Milwaukee. You always have to be scared of an offense, even if you're not scared of their back end of the bullpen or their starting pitchers would, if they can score runs, they're always going to be in games. So I think that's what's so scary about the Diamondbacks, and you don't have that with Milwaukee.
Well, all right, those are my thoughts right there. Perfect. Yep.
Oh, wow. He's not gonna smash you anymore. He's just gonna leave that alone. See, that's a gracious host right there, a gracious guest. And then last thing here, Paula wants to go to church too because she says amen as well. All right. Yes. Praise God. All right. So last thing for our guest right at the moment. Once again, sir, tell us where you are, what you do. Give us everything, buddy.
Yeah, Miller Thomas, host of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast and a graphic designer. Go check my website, millerthomas24.myportfolio.com to see all my latest work. Catch the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast wherever you stream podcasts, Spotify, Apple, and don't forget to hit Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube as well, please.
All right, so now I want to give your podcast a really good pop here. I've listened to it a lot, even before I asked you to come on the show. I like the fact that it's a 30-minute podcast. It's much shorter than the one Mitch and I do. We're going to be on here for about 90 minutes today, but we only do it once a week. You're very consistent, and you do yours pretty much every day of the week. So talk to me about the Sunday, Monday schedule, because I know sometimes you do Sunday, sometimes you do Monday. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it really just depends, I guess, if I'm in Arizona. If I'm back on the East Coast, that's what I'm probably doing Monday. But I like to start the week, finish, because typically series end on Sundays anyway. So I like to get a podcast out Sunday night. I try to work a day ahead. This way, my podcast can end that Thursday night and I can have my whole weekend to enjoy myself.
There we go. There's a method to the madness.
Mhm.
So, and I know we've talked all about Diamondbacks, but I have to ask you a question about the Coyotes and what's possible here, right? I know you used to work for the Coyotes. I'm sure you're a big fan of them, just like you are the Diamondbacks. What do you think is the future of hockey in Arizona?
Oh, that's a great question. Hopefully it's coming back. I know there's some people that would love to bring it back. We've heard Matt Ishbia of the Phoenix Suns, who owns that team. He said, if things worked out, I could bring back the Coyotes one day. So I do think there's interest around different people who are based in Arizona and around the league who would be enticed of bringing the Coyotes back. So right now it looks bleak, but 5 years down the road, I do think the NHL likes the Arizona market as well. So I do think there's a good 50-50 chance that the Coyotes could come back one day. I just don't know what that timeline is.
Okay, so you think they'll be successful, and do you think they were successful now?
The
Like, were the
Coyotes?
Coyotes, yeah, were the Coyotes successful in Arizona?
That's a fantastic question. I mean, in terms of like on the ice success, it was a little hit or miss, but in terms of growing the game in Arizona, if you frame it that way, I do think they were a huge success with the developmental programs that they had in Arizona, with the foundation stuff that they had, giving back to the youth. I think they did a lot of great stuff within the community. So from that standpoint, like I started playing hockey ever since I started working with the Coyotes. So like they really touched me in a meaningful way. So I think in terms of growing the game in Arizona, they've done a lot. In terms of winning championships, I guess if you only look at it through that perspective, then I guess you would say no.
All right, Mitch, I want to ask you one more thing, and then we're gonna bid our guest adieu, unless he wants to stick around for the next two segments. But I don't know. Well, we'll give him the option. All right.
Ooh.
He's like, intrigue me. So, Mitch, I remember when I first moved out here. As our guest is saying, he's a East Coast guy. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I was the East Coast guy, and when I got here, they're like, "Oh, hey, you need to go see the Coyotes." And I was like, "What's the Coyotes?" And they're like, "Oh, it's the NHL hockey team." And I laughed. I was like, "Really? There's NHL in the desert? Really?" So, what did you think about there being NHL in the desert as someone who's been out here a lot longer than I have?
No, yeah, I thought it was cool. Obviously, being from the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area, and I never had a home state team. Closest thing was the Blackhawks, and I'm never going to be rooting for a Chicago team no matter what. So they were kind of off the board for me. And then the Minnesota Wild being the closest thing. So it was cool to have a home state hockey team. Obviously, never been a big hockey guy. Never been to an NHL game. Always wanted to. Never made the trip up to Glendale for them, and then the playing in the ASU stadium. Tickets were a little too pricey for me to justify that going to my first NHL game. But I would really like to see hockey back in Arizona. I know a lot of passionate fans of the Coyotes, and hopefully they can bring hockey back to Arizona. There's a lot of fans here, and as Millard said, they really helped growing the game in Arizona, which was cool to see.
All right, Millard. So you, our fans out there, we're going to do NFL 4-down territory, and then we're going to jump into 4-pitch talk here in a couple minutes. Let me give you the 4-pitch talk topics when we get to them here. How big of a blow is Christian Yelich away from the Brewers? Did you like the Players' Weekend? We'll discuss that. Will the Braves overcome their injuries and make the postseason? And then we'll talk about 10-plus strikeout games. I got a nice stat. We'll plug a Twitter handle that we follow and everything else for that particular spot. So I will give you the option, sir. Do you want to stay or do you want to bid us adieu, sir?
Unfortunately, I have to bid you guys.
Well, I know you're a busy man, sir. You got a podcast to do here. So and yours is every day. Keep up on it.
I appreciate you guys for having me today, and let's do this again in the future for sure. If you guys ever need me, don't be afraid to reach out.
All right,
definitely will. Appreciate having you. Yeah, great guest. So thanks, Millard.
Thank you, guys.
All right, see you later, Millard. All right, that was again Millard Thomas. He is with the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. go to LO_Diamondbacks on your X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it today. And you can look that up. The Locked On Podcast Network, if you are a fan of a team, they have a ton. And it's not just baseball. They've got football. They've got college. They've got the NHL. They've got the NBA. They got everything. So he was a fantastic guest for us, talking about the Arizona Diamondbacks, which both of us are representing today. And again, they won today, so they're good. Yeah. Show us that. Yeah, can you pull it up a little higher so it covers your face? Can you?
Yeah, try to get them. Yeah, I mean,
There you go. Oh, that's so much better. Leave it up there for the rest of the show.
just under the stash, I guess.
Okay, good deal. Good deal. All right, buddy. Let's go into NFL 4-down territory. All right. Before we get into 4-down territory, I want to tell you I'm excited about this. And Mitch, I haven't got a chance to talk to you since the last show. But so I work with a gentleman whose son just got accepted to Zilla, Team Zilla. You know who Zilla is? Who has that nickname? No, that's Blake Snell. Blake Snell has a youth academy. Mitch is like, duh, I knew that, and you put me on the spot, man. I did. So yeah, he has Zilla, and this young man was just accepted to his academy. He's going to be in some big time tournaments over the summer, and I've already booked him as a guest later on. So for the first time ever, we're going to have a dad and son on. Not 100% sure when it's going to be exactly, but they have both agreed to come on and talk to us about youth and that program and Blake Snell and all the different things that are going on inside youth baseball right now. With the World League, World Series, and everything going on, I really thought that'd be a great thing to talk about here real quick.
Yeah, no, I agree. You threw me a little curveball. Kids, take note. Mike just threw me a great little curveball, got my mind shifting to NFL and football, and then right back into baseball. So that's why the Zilla nickname skipped my mind. But yeah, that's really awesome to hear. We're really excited to have them on. I'm sure that'll be great. We'll keep you guys posted on when we're looking to have that done. But yeah, really excited. Congratulations to him. And that's what this is all about. I think we started this out by wanting to grow the game and get people engaged in conversation and just talking, and we wanted to talk about the games that we love. So really glad to be able to do that. Really excited to bring them on and kind of talk more and help people grow the game for sure.
Excellent. His name is Ishmael Valdez, by the way. So I want to plug his name real quick. He's got his own baseball card that he's going to autograph, and I have a picture of it. I didn't have it. Actually, I could probably get it here really fast. Nah, I'm not. I'll wait. But it's a nice deal. He is excited about it. His dad's super excited about it. Kind of like last week. Remember when I was asking, hey, if there was a little Mitch Middlebrook running around, would you then want to go to the Little League World Series? And you had that same look you've got right now, right? So yeah, he's extremely proud of his son, as well he should be. I want to talk about the differences between NFL preseason and spring training in the Arizona Fall League. Now, you and I have both been to spring training. We've been to spring training together. We held hands and skipped all around the concourse. And then we've also been to the Arizona Fall League. If I'm going to pick, okay, spring training would be my number one, right? Arizona Fall League would actually be a close second. I really enjoyed the Arizona Fall League. And then preseason football for me is like way down the list somewhere. Talk to me about the differences that you see between these free events, right? They want us to go to all these events and put our hard-earned money into tickets. But, well, I'll let you talk before I go on my rant here. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I'd agree. I actually, I think I would have to separate maybe the second half of spring training and the first half. If we're talking the first half of spring training compared to NFL preseason and Arizona Fall League, I'm putting Arizona Fall League at number one on my list there. Ooh. I really enjoy the Arizona Fall League. I think it's a great chance to get to see the young guys in the game and the up-and-comers. And that's kind of what spring training is. But it's not as exciting to me. I really enjoy the Arizona Fall League. And the start of spring training, you're still getting those developmental guys and the guys that are kind of fringe on the lineup and on the roster. But something about the Arizona Fall League that time of year and those guys competing as if it's their postseason makes it a little more fun for me. And, they have a lot to play for. But no matter what, NFL preseason is always going to be the bottom of this list for me, even though it's very similar. These guys are trying to make the roster, and each week that roster's dwindling down, and they're cutting it quite a bit from week one to the first week with 53 going, I think, from 80 to 53, and now just 3 weeks with that final fourth preseason game being cut out. So, very similar ideas behind it, or kind of, what they're looking to get out of it, but very different executions as well. I think it's pretty clear that the NFL preseason, the quality of those games is nowhere near the quality of the games in spring training, and especially the Arizona Fall League.
And you've hit on one of my 2 points, which is the quality's not near there, right? I looked at maybe going to an Arizona Cardinals game. I looked at maybe traveling a little bit to see them. But I don't want to say there's nobody on the field that I want to see. There's not very many people on the field that I want to see. I mean, I don't care who gets the backup lineman positions, and I don't want to pay top ticket prices to find out, right? That's my other gripe with them. I have 3. So it's the fact that there's not very many people on the field that I even want to see. That's my first one, right? The second one is there's no discount in these tickets. I don't know if you've looked into ticket prices or not, but they are almost the exact same as a regular season game.
Yep.
And when you go to spring training games, now the spring training prices have increased, and I'll give you that, but they have not increased near to what these preseason football games have. I don't like that perspective of it. And the Arizona Fall League, man, you can get a ticket. You can get one ticket, right? And correct me if I'm wrong here. I think we're doing this right here. One ticket, you can go to pretty much every game, and they usually have one game in the afternoon, and then like 2 or 3 games in the evening. So you get to pick. You can go to 2 games every day, basically, if that's what you want to do. Like if you're a retiree or you just want to take some vacation time off of work and get lost in the stands of a baseball stadium, you can do that, and you can do it pretty cheap. If I remember right, last year one ticket was $75 for the entire season. I mean, wasn't that right, Mitch? I think I've got that right.
Yeah, I think we might have locked in on a little promotion that they do. If you buy like their season tickets, what they call it, you can either get 1 or 2 tickets to every game. And I think I locked it in at 130 or 120 for 2 tickets to every game last year. So yeah, I think, I think 1 ticket per game is somewhere between 75 and 100. I think you're right there. Which, I mean, I what does it go on for? It's over 30 days. So even if you just make it to a game a day, 30 games for $100, $120 for 2 people, that's just insanely cost effective. And I know we've taken advantage of that. So it is really nice that those prices haven't gone up like the others.
Right. And we're going to take advantage of it this year too. I know we are. It'd be nice to be able to do one of these from a stadium. I'm kind of working on that a little bit behind the scenes. And there may be some other opportunities, especially after you. You might want to wipe that AFL dirt off your nose there a little bit, buddy. Arizona Fall League is a great time. I really enjoyed. I love seeing those prospects, and it's a really high volume of those prospects that are going to be in the big leagues within 3 years. It's not like it's just 20 or 30%. It's more like 70 or 80%. So those are the guys. And that brings me to my third thing is when you're at a football game like that, I have not been able to see anyone really be able to go down to the field and get autographs. Autographs is one of the big things that I do. Autographs is, let me see if we can do this. They're all over the place around here, right? I don't want to go that way. But, they're up here. They're back there. They're up there. They're over there. They're there. They're all over the place. So I love the autograph part of this. It's one of the main reasons why I do this. I love it. And you can't do that at a preseason football game. Not near as well as what you can at a Major League game. And if you notice, if you guys have been watching for a long time and you're like, why is the TV on behind him? He decided that maybe that was what was messing up the internet last week, and so he decided to leave it off this week. So um, there's a reason why I put it back on me. We'll get to that later on. I want to be able to enhance the show, maybe put pictures back there when we talk about different things and stuff like that over my shoulder. So we'll get to all that. I'm still on this low part. We're not on Locked On Diamondbacks territory or anything yet, but like I say, we're getting there. So we both said it. The preseason football is way down at the bottom of our list, and I'd love to be able to hear if the rest of our fans out there who are watching us live feel the same way. Would you rather go to a spring training game? Would you rather go to an Arizona Fall League game? And by the way, if you don't know what an Arizona Fall League game is, we've got to get you out to that. And maybe we'll have some kind of promotion later on in the season. It's a fantastic time. The only negative thing for me about the Arizona Fall League is that it starts while the playoffs are still going on.
Yep.
And if the D-backs are in the playoffs, then I've got to make a decision. So that's the only drawback. But other than that, man, the Arizona Fall League is a fantastic time, and we can all have a great time with that. You want to wrap this up with anything else, Mitch?
No, yeah, I agree with you, and that's the one thing about the Arizona Fall League is you're gonna have your phone up and streaming those playoff games. But hey, it can be a bad thing or it can be a good thing. You just got to think about it. You're getting twice the baseball, and you're sitting in a stadium and not for Major League Baseball playoff prices. So hey,
Right.
it can be a good or bad thing. You get double the baseball, but you got to work on that attention span, definitely.
You know what? Maybe what we'll have to do is we'll do some kind of promotion, like in a suite or something somewhere, and then we can have the Diamondbacks running on the TV as they're going for the World Series, and we can be watching the Arizona Fall League out in front. Ooh, yeah,
Write that down. Write that down.
Write that down. So yes, we'll look at that. So last week we ranked the teams in every NFL division who would be in last place. This week we're going to rank the NFL teams that we think are going to be in first place. Some dummy, I can't remember who that guy was, last week said, "Oh, we're going to do the next to the last," and then the. Why would we want to do all that? Because you're going to know what all of our team picks are going to be before we get to them the following week. So I decided to revamp it a little bit. We're going to do last, and then we're going to do first. So here we go. Let me give you guys the team. We're going to start in the NFC, and we're going to do almost the exact same order we did last week. NFC East. Let me rattle off these teams, and then we'll pick who's going to be first in this division. So the NFC East contains Dallas, the New York Giants, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Washington Commanders. Mitch, I'll start with you. Who's going to be first in the NFC East?
This one was a little tough for me. I think it's going to be a dogfight between the Cowboys and Eagles. I still don't really believe in Mike McCarthy. I still don't really believe in Dak Prescott. But Dak Prescott has proven that in the regular season, he is a winning quarterback. Outside of that, undetermined.
Regular season. I caught that.
Yeah, undetermined. But the Eagles with that wide receiving core, they're still going to be a really hard team to beat. I think losing Jason Kelce is going to be a really hard hole for them to fill. But we'll see. I don't think it's going to be, absolutely terrible. It's only one piece of their offensive line that they can hopefully kind of pick up on the rest of them. But I think it's going to be a dogfight in the NFC East for who's in the top spot there. I'm going to actually give the edge to the Eagles. And it might just be because I don't like the Cowboys. But I am going to give the edge to the Eagles there in the NFC East.
Cowboy Reggie, are you listening? Oh, my goodness. He said it. He doesn't like the Cowboys. Whenever you're ready, Cowboy, just, that's fine, buddy. Let him have it. But I guess if you're going to let Mitch have it, you got to let me have it too, because I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to give the Eagles.
Look at that. Throws me under the bus, and he's the one driving it. You see
That's
that?
Right. I backed that baby back up and rolled right over top of it. I'm with you. I think that I just don't trust the Cowboys. I especially don't trust Mike McCarthy. I'm not sure if they're going to get a deal done with CeeDee Lamb, if he's going to be a disgruntled player for the entire season, how that's going to affect what they're going to do. I don't like their little, 4'3" running back that they've got back there that everybody keeps saying, "Oh, he's wonderful. Look at him. He squeezes through the line." And yeah. Wait till somebody with like the initials T and J or somebody like that cracks him one good time, and that
Yeah.
little 4'5" guy is going to be on the ground like a pancake. But we'll see. But I don't like their running game. I don't like their coach. I'm not sure about their receivers. I don't even like Dak, to be honest, but I think it's just because it's Dak. And,
Yeah.
But he is a fantasy. Fantasy's a different story. I'll pick Dak in fantasy football, but I'm just not going to root for him to win on Sunday. The NFC North: the Chicago Bears, the Detroit Lions, the Green Bay Packers, and the Minnesota Vikings. Who will be tops, Mitch, in the NFC North?
Well, do I even need to say? I mean, we could probably skip this one. We all know who's going to win the NFC North. It's going to be the Detroit Lions. That one's also going to be a dogfight. I think the Packers, they're a good team, and the Bears are looking like they're going to be a pretty solid squad too. I think the difference here and why I'm giving the edge to the Lions, not just because I'm a homer, but I think the Packers caught a lot of teams off guard last year, and I don't think that'll happen this year. I think they're going to come prepared. They have a decent amount of tape on Jordan Love now, and he's not really going to surprise people and teams and defenses like he did last year. So I think they'll still be a good team, but I think a few of those games, 1 to 3 of those games that they won last year because teams didn't really have a game plan against them, they're not going to be able to pick up those games like they did. So I think they'll finish second, and the Lions will take the NFC North.
I'm with you, but I'm going to add a caveat to this. I think the Chicago Bears are going to have. They're not going to win this division. All right, don't get all scared like I'm going to pick the Bears to win the division, because I'm not. But I do think that the Bears are going to have a say-so in this division, right? I think the Bears are going to surprise either the Packers or the Lions. And because of that game where they jump up and bite them, that's going to cost one of those two teams the title in this division. So I like the Bears. I like that they're building, but they're a year or two away yet. But I think they're good enough to surprise somebody. And I think it's either going to be Detroit or Green Bay. I would probably lean more towards Green Bay, but it might happen to Detroit. Go ahead, sir.
No, I think you're spot on, and honestly, I think you could say the same thing about Minnesota, which is why I think this division is going to be so interesting and fun to watch, especially their interdivisional games. If Minnesota steals one of these games from either the Lions or the Packers, that could really shake things up in the division race there. And depending on how Darnold steps in Minnesota, they might surprise a team or two.
Well, I mean, it might be Trey Lance from what one of our writers said on www.weLikeSportsPC.com. There's an article on that. You want to go to our website right now and take a look at that. He floated an idea out there that maybe the Dallas Cowboys would trade him over to the Vikings now that J.J. McCarthy is hurt. Interesting concept. If you think so, go over to our website and check that out. Let's go to the NFC South: Atlanta, New Orleans, Tampa, Carolina. We're going to talk about another one of these teams here in just a moment, in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think we'll see an interesting stat. We'll talk about it a little more here in a moment.
Yeah, and the winner of this division at 7-9, or 8-9, I guess, is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But again, this division, I don't care to watch a single game out of anybody in this division. They're still going to be bad all together. The winner's definitely not going to be above 500 when all is said and done, but they will still be the winner. So I'm going to give them the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
So you don't think Kirk Cousins-led Falcons can come out of this division, as pitiful as it is?
No, I don't think so. I think the Falcons have a lot more pieces to get than they needed at quarterback last year, and they weren't a terrible team outside of quarterback. But I think Kirk, like I've always said, Kirk isn't going to win you or lose many games. Kirk is going to come in and be a solid piece at quarterback, and he's not going to, turn the ball over. He's not going to make huge mistakes and lose you games, but he's not also going to be the piece to put you over the edge and turn you into this world beater. I think those are the two teams that it's going to be between, is Tampa Bay and the Falcons, but I just really don't see Kirk Cousins making that big of a difference. and putting them over the top, even though this division is easily winnable. So I could be very wrong. I just don't see it.
Interesting. I like the Tampa Bay quarterback, and we're going to talk about another one of their players here in a little bit. I'm going to root for him, and I'm going to say Tampa Bay as well. So the NFC West, the LA Rams, the Arizona Cardinals, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Seattle Seahawks. I think this was pretty easy.
Yeah, it's the Cardinals, right? No, it's the 49ers. They'll continue on their pace of the last two seasons, and they'll win this division for sure. Just too solid of a roster, and too many big names, too many big pieces. Even when they ship out Brandon Ayuk, they're still going to have more than enough weapons. So
right. So we'll give ourselves it's the halfway point here of the. We're ranking the first place teams in each NFL division. You guys can jump on board with us. There's a comment section up in the top right-hand corner. You can click that box, put in your comment, and then we'll put your name up here at the bottom of the screen, and you can join the conversation with us. All right, AFC South. Tennessee, Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Houston.
I think we gave a little teaser on this one last week, and I think we're going to be in agreement. I'm saying Houston. I think the Texans are going to take the AFC South. I think the Jaguars still might have a little something to say about that if Trevor Lawrence can come back and kind of play how he has at his best. But I think it's the Texans' young team still going to carry their momentum off last season. Surprised a lot of people. I think they're going to win this division.
Yeah, I don't see any of these other teams even pushing Houston, to be honest with you. The Tennessee's not going to be good. Indianapolis is trying, but they're not there yet. Jacksonville might give them a little run for their money, but they're Dallas 2.0 for me. I don't trust a lot of those players. I certainly don't trust Trevor Lawrence until he shows me something besides long flowing locks coming out of the back of his helmet, right? So he's going to have to show me something from. I'm even going to give him a challenge here. So yeah.
Well, and I will say, I think the Colts can surprise people. Richardson played really well last year. It's just about staying healthy for him. I know he's already had some trouble throughout training camp and in this preseason, staying healthy and being on the field. It might be, precautionary, but I think that's going to be the biggest piece, and that's why I think I don't really put the Colts in contention for this division, because I don't see him staying healthy for a full season. I would like to. He's a really fun quarterback to watch, and I think he makes the team fun, but I just don't see that a possibility right now.
All right. Let's go with the NFC East, and I'm saving the NFC North for the end, just so you know, because I'm wondering how we're gonna fare on this one, but we'll see towards the end. So the East has got Buffalo, Miami, New England, and the New York Jets. Buffalo, Miami, New England, New York Jets. This one was hard for me. Was it hard for you, or did you pick winner right away?
It was a little difficult. I instantly, going through, I thought Buffalo. I think they're kind of the clear favorite, but this is, going to be a tight race as well. I think the Dolphins are going to have a say in that, and maybe the Jets have a say in it too. But I do think it's going to be the Bills at the end of the day.
I'm going to go a little bit different take here. That really wasn't the button I want. Was it this one? Yeah, that one was the one I wanted. Really. What? So I haven't touched my buttons in a while. Okay. So I really think the Jets know that it's either this year or it's not for a while. And Aaron Rodgers is probably done after this year, or he should be anyway. And I think that motivation is going to push them. I'm going to go out on a limb a little bit here, I know, but I'm gonna go gangrene and see if I get an infection or not. We're going to pick the New York Jets to win this division. You got Buffalo, I got the New York Jets. This is really the first one we're going to disagree on. Let's jump to the AFC West, where we have Denver, Kansas City, Vegas, and the Chargers, and see if we disagree here. I doubt it, but let's go with the AFC West.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to disagree. It's going to be the Chiefs again. Patrick Mahomes is he's not going to lose that division. And I think it'll be actually a tight race in who's second, third, and fourth there, just because I think all those teams are going to struggle and probably struggle at different points of the season. But the Chiefs are going to run away with that one.
It's almost going to be a bigger race to see who's going to be second in this division. I agree with you because you've got. I mean, I don't. It's another one of these divisions where it's like, do you believe in Denver? I don't know. Sean Payton might make me a believer before the end of the season, but I don't think he's going to start out the season that way. We know about Kansas City. I like Vegas' coach, Pierce, right? I really like him. And then the Chargers, I think, are just an absolute mess. And I'm going to laugh when they finish last in the division. I know there's a couple of buddies of mine out there who are probably listening right at the moment or will be listening on the tape delay. And they're going to be really mad at me throwing stuff at me right now. But really what I want to say to you guys is all right, AFC North, here we go. Hang on, let me get this button ready. Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Baltimore. I believe both of us picked. No, who did you pick? As you said, Pittsburgh was going to be last in that division last week, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Basically, I picked Cleveland, so we can't pick those teams, obviously. Who are you going to say is going to be the best team in the NFL as far as the AFC North?
This was another really tough one for me, and honestly, I think this was the toughest one for me. I think I wanted to go with the Ravens, just because I think they've proven it year after year that they're going to be up there competing. But I'm going to go with my heart, and I think we're actually going to agree. Well, maybe, I don't know. But I'm going to say Cincinnati is going to take this one. Joe Burrow is going to stay healthy. And that connection between Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase is going to continue to grow, and that's really going to carry them through this season. As long as those two can stay healthy, and Joe Mixon can kind of return to where he was and also stay healthy, that's going to be a really hard team to beat. So I'm going to say Cincinnati takes the AFC North.
And I'm going to give us a positive and a negative here for a second. I'm going to say that the Cincinnati Bengals this year will be
awesome.
But I also want to put a caveat on this because I'm going to put the same caveat that I did with the Jets. I really and honestly think that the Bengals know that this might be it. I mean, are they going to pay Chase? What's going to happen with T. Higgins? What's going to happen with Mixon next year? They've got some line issues, both on the offensive line and the defensive line. So, what happens if Burrow gets hurt for another season or even part of the season? This could go bad really quick for the Bengals if multiples of those things that I just said happen. So, I also think that they're going to win the division, but I do think it's going to be, I don't want to say hard for them, but I don't think it's going to be easy for them like everybody else kind of thinks it will be. I'm going to say that they'll win, but I'm also going to say that because the rest of that division is so good, the dominoes almost have to fall in the exact right spot for whichever team is going to win this. They're just going to beat the tar out of each other all season long. So yeah, I think that's the hardest division in football is the AFC North. Let's get back to our NFL 4-down territory here. I came across this stat on our Twitter page. Let me see who put this up for us here real fast. See if I can find it. I believe I can pretty quick here. And it's Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy is going to retire, or he actually already has retired. I'm looking for the tweet right now. Yeah, that was done by Sportz Truth at SPOTRAC. They've got a lot of nice things on their site. You should go check them out. We're going to do another one here in just a moment from our Twitter feed. Our almost 6,000 fans that we have now, and we certainly appreciate you guys jumping onto our Twitter account. Mitch, what's your Twitter account right at the moment, sir?
Yeah, you'll find me at Mitchellbrook52 on X.
All right. And then, of course, you can go over to our main spot with us. It is at the 643&Out pod. So Colt McCoy has retired from the NFL. He played 14 seasons. He started 36 games. And he made $26 million. What does that say about the current state of the NFL?
It says a
Besides
lot.
the fact that we're both in the wrong position as far as doing something with the NFL. We should have been back
No,
to quarterback.
it says a lot. I think it says exactly how the league has grown and the amount of money that these teams make. Because they're not losing money on these guys. They're paying these guys and they're still making plenty of money. So it speaks to how much of a moneymaker the NFL is. And I really, more than anything, think it speaks to how important the quarterback position is. To let a guy like Colt McCoy, who starts 36 games over 14 seasons. So if we're even saying, I know it wasn't, but let's just say that every season he played in was 17 games. He would have had a potential 238 games to start in. He started 36 of them. That's about 15%. Yeah. So he started 15% of the NFL games that he was eligible to play in over his 14-year career. And sure, there's injuries, so it wasn't always, that bad. But 15% of your games you get into for $26 million, I think anybody's taking that paycheck.
Sign me up.
Yep.
So, yeah, I will agree with you, and I didn't really think about this until you said it. It does say how important the quarterback position is. Even though he only started 36, he still got $26 million out of it. And I don't know if you've seen anything on this or not, but from what I understand, he's already secured himself more money because I don't know if it's going to be CBS or NBC or Fox or what it's going to be, but I guess he's already got himself an analyst gig before he retired. So he knew that was coming too. So he's going to make some more money off with his football endeavors here. And never going to have to take another hit in his life unless, somebody throws a pencil at him or something. So good for Colt McCoy. I'm not begrudging him. I'm a little jealous of him, but I'm not begrudging him. He seems to be a pretty good guy. And, okay, good for you, buddy. Right? That's one of those things I just, hey, good for you, bud. I wish I could have done the same kind of thing and not have taken 26,000, but good for you. So let's move on to our last question here for our NFL 4-down territory. We kind of take things and we look at 4 different territories in the United States, and we do that. So we started off with just a generalized one as far as the preseason goes. We looked at each division in football, and we decided who was going to be first in those divisions. And we actually agreed on a lot more of them than I thought we would. We looked at quarterback Colt McCoy, and now we're going to look at receiver Mike Evans with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He needs 1,320 receiving yards to become only the 6th. I couldn't believe it when I saw this stat. The 6th NFL player ever to have 13,000 receiving yards in 11 seasons. Let me give the site that gave me this ML Football @_ML Football. That's where you can find this and a lot of other interesting stats here. So he's going to be, if he gets 1,320 yards this season, he'll be only the 6th player ever to get 13,000 yards receiving in his first 11 seasons. And if you're kind of thinking like I was, it's like, okay, well, that doesn't sound great. It doesn't sound fantastic. Here are the other 5 players who have accomplished this goal. They are Jerry Rice, Marvin Harrison, Torrey Holt, Julio Jones, and Randy Moss. And those are all elite receivers. So my question to you is, do we consider Mike Evans an elite receiver? I got a couple other questions for you as well, but let's start with that one. Do we consider Mike Evans an elite receiver?
Yes, wholeheartedly, without a doubt. Mike Evans, that list that you just named, guys like Jerry Rice, Marvin Harrison, Torrey Holt, Julio Jones, Randy Moss. I mean, those are the best of the best when you think about the wide receiver position. And I don't know exactly if I put Mike Evans in that same category. I don't know if I put any receiver in that same category as Jerry Rice, um, other than Megatron, Calvin Johnson. But he didn't have as long of a career as these guys. I think that speaks to, being an elite receiver, Mike Evans being able to have that longevity that these guys did, and to be great while he's doing it, throughout those 11 seasons, 10 right now for Mike. But still, I think you have to put him in an elite category, of receivers because, as you said, 5 guys have done it before. Every guy on that list is an elite receiver, as is Mike Evans.
All right. So if he gets that 1,320 yards, whether it's this season or a combination of 2 or 3, is Mike Evans an NFL Hall of Fame?
Yes. And honestly,
that was quick.
Yeah, it's no doubt in my mind, just the eyeball test is huge for me, as it always has been. Every time we talk about these Hall of Fame discussions, being able to watch Mike Evans' whole career, when I watch him, I think, yeah, that's a Hall of Famer. No other guys, not many guys in the league are doing it, and they're definitely not doing it for as long as Mike Evans has. I definitely think, even if he just gets another 1,000-yard receiving season, I think he's up there and definitely in consideration. I don't even know if he needs to hit the 1,320 to really be locked in there.
All right. So I want to ask you this one here. This will be the third one of our 3 questions here on Mike Evans, and I think this is going to be interesting. I know what my take is going to be, and I'm really curious to hear what yours is going to be here. So in fantasy drafts, and by the way, we're going to do a fantasy announcement that I haven't got a chance to tell you yet, but I got something cooking. I put it in the oven already, and I'm looking through the window, and it's on broil, right? So it's getting close. Okay. Is he a wide receiver 1 in your fantasy draft, Mike Evans? And the reason I ask it is because he's been in the league for 10 years. Do you trust him to be an elite receiver again for an 11th year in a row? Would you make Mike Evans a wide receiver 1 in your fantasy football draft?
I think it's a gamble because of the age and because you don't know what the injuries are going to look like at this stage in his career. I think that's the only reason it's a gamble. He's obviously still got all the intangibles and all the physical attributes that you want out of your wide receiver 1. I think it's really just, is he going to be out there every week and healthy? So I think, yes, talent-wise, still a wide receiver 1, no doubt. The real question mark is whether or not he can stay healthy at this age, taking all those hits and how many snaps he's actually going to be out there a game, and giving full effort, because it takes a lot out of you. And after 10 seasons of that, and being the number 1 guy, teams know what they're going to get from you, and they're going to focus on you, and they're going to beat you up whenever they can. So getting out there for 17 games is going to be the tough part.
Okay. I'm with you. Yes, absolutely, and yes. So, yeah, he is wide receiver number 1 for me. As we're putting Mitch money line. Is it money line? Yeah, money line Middlebrook there on the bottom of the screen.
Bags.
Money bags. Is that what we decided? I don't know. Did I type that in wrong? Because I put money line down there, I think. Hang on, I'm waiting for it. Co-host. I did put money line. Technical people. Who does all the stuff on this show? Oh, there's nobody else here. Oh, okay. All right. It's me, I guess. So we are going to do the first question here in just a moment. We're going to look at the Atlanta Braves and can they overcome the injuries? And we're going to look at what the gambling odds say on the Atlanta Braves winning and going to the postseason here. And Mitch Moneybags Middlebrook here will give us a good test to see, yes, should we put some money on that, or no, should we lay off of that? Once again, as I see someone has, yeah. All right. Fine, Paula, fine. So, yes, you can comment just like Paula did. You can go to the comment section, those of you who are following along with us live, and we certainly appreciate those of you who are. We are at the 1 hour, 20-minute or so mark. We'll give you a few more minutes, a few more baseball topics here. Let's go ahead and start with some music to transfer from point A to point B. Here we go. So you can go to www.welikesportspc.com, and we have a ton of articles up right now on a ton of different subjects, as I see Mitch getting all this gambling stuff ready to go for the next segment here. So in fantasy football, we're covering the Jags. We've got 2 different Dallas Cowboy articles up. We got a Jets article up and a Bears article up. So we are already covering the NFL season before it ever actually begins. One of the best articles that we have up right now, and it's not because I wrote it, because I didn't write it. There is a great college football article up right now. If your college football juices are flowing like what mine are, honestly, I'm more excited for the college football than what I am for the NFL. We'll really start hitting that home next week. There are predictions, top 10, what games you need to watch, and who will win it all. And that's all in one article. Go to www.welikesportspc.com to get to that. Also, with baseball, we got a Julian Aguilar article, the Reds pitcher who just made his major league debut yesterday in the game. So we got the Reds covered, we got the Mets covered, we got more than one article up on the fantastic White Sox. Irony. We have an article up about just because you're a long time and loyal fan, does that give you more of a right to complain or cheer on your team? We got boxing. We got the guy Too Sharp, and if you don't know who that is, I guess you don't know boxing. But we've also got Mason and Ohan as well. Wrestling. Yes, we've got wrestling. Raw is up. The Thursday Turnbuckle Take is up from this past Thursday. And then we also have an article up on will Canelo and Crawford actually happen. And last but not least, we have jumped into the fantasy hockey realm and the hockey realm as a whole. We got the Kings article up right at the moment. We have an article up on fantasy hockey, and we also have an article on Can the Cup come home to Canada. All right, those are all the things that we've got going on right now at www.welikesportspc.com. Go over to that website. Check it out. A lot of fantastic writers. Mitch and I are both involved in that website. And if you see something, there's a grammatical error or there's something like that, and you want to yell at somebody, that somebody would be me, because I edit 90% of the articles that are up on that site. So, I may mess it up because obviously I put money line in here instead of money bag. So I got to change that for next week. But, well, every once in a while, even the good ones make a mistake. So, all right. The Atlanta Braves, now they've got Austin Riley hurt at third base. I mean, it just seems like there's one thing after another. And I know I didn't put this in the notes real quick, but before we get to your gambling spot here, on where the Braves are and what do you think they may do, let me ask you about this. I believe in that game, there were multiple Braves hitters hit by the same pitcher pitching inside. And we haven't done anything about it. Should we do something about a pitcher who is, I don't want to call him effectively wild, because, I understand that you're brushing people off the plate, things like that, and that's kind of the caveat to this whole thing. Mitch, should we do something in Major League Baseball if a pitcher hits multiple pitchers in an inning, or if a pitcher, what do you want to do? Do you want to see these rules change to try to protect the hitters, or is that just part of baseball and we're good with it?
No, I think, we've got the safeguards in place. We have the umpires, and we have to trust them to throw guys out when they think they're throwing intentionally at people. And, maybe guys are effectively wild, and maybe that ends up getting, some more hit by pitches, more so in one game than others. I think it really is up to the umpires and everyone on the field to determine, is this malicious? Is this actually happening on purpose, or is it just being effectively wild and maybe a little too wild on some days? I don't think, we have to have strict rules of, well, if you hit 3 guys in 7 innings, then you're out of there, or whatever it may be. If a guy's in that long and he's hitting guys, he's still pitching a shutout, that guy shouldn't be disqualified or the game. That's the way he pitches, and he's brushing guys off the plate, or he's effectively wild. I think that's just the game. And it really comes down to umpires' discretion of, do I feel this is intentional? And if so, I got to get this guy out of here before somebody gets hurt. But I don't think we can have just a rule of, well, if you hit this many guys in this amount of innings, you're out of there.
I know there's some players. I know that Brian Sticker came out and said something about, hey, they're hitting my guys and nobody's doing anything about it. That's also kind of his job, right? I mean, I love to see those managers come charging out of the dugout and firing up the team and firing up the fan base and doing all that kind of. See my dog likes it too. Did you hear? So there she goes, saying it to me again. So we are. The manager can say something afterward or in a press conference or something like that, but he can also say something during the game. And I'd love to see some of those managers come out of there, some of the pitching coaches, some of the hitting coaches, somebody do something. I mean, I don't care if it's a third base or a first base coach that comes down the line and starts barking at people. I think nobody's going to do anything unless we say something. And right now, nobody's really saying anything except in a press conference after the whole thing's done and over with anyway. So, I think that's what's going to be the first step. And until we get that first step, I don't think we're going to go anywhere else with it. But let's talk about the Braves. So, again, Austin Riley is now out for the Braves. The Braves have had tons and tons of injuries. They're on the outside looking in right at the moment, I believe. I'm sure you can tell us that. My question to you is, will the Braves overcome all of their injuries and still make the postseason? Tell us what Vegas says, and then you can tell us what you think, sir.
Yeah, Vegas thinks so. Vegas has their odds pretty good to make the postseason. The Braves are currently minus 350 to make the postseason. I haven't looked at the standings the last few days. They might be outside looking in. I know they're kind of teetering right there the last week or so. But Vegas still pretty confident. I would be curious to see what the rest of their schedule is going to look like and what is going to shake out the rest of their season. But Vegas still pretty confident that they will make the playoffs at minus 350. But I will tell you what's even more surprising to me, and this is kind of another little extra thing that we didn't have here.
Okay.
But I know just coming back to your prediction of who will win the NL West and that the Diamondbacks will come and take that title from the Dodgers. Now's the best time to get in on that if you still believe it, because the Dodgers to win the the Diamondbacks to win the NL West are currently plus 1,100. So if you put $100 on that, you're walking away with 1,100. The Dodgers are currently minus 550, and this one's going to surprise you. The Padres are only plus 600 to win the NL West as it sits right now. So looks like Vegas thinks these last 34 games for the Diamondbacks are going to be pretty rough, and they don't think they can pull off skipping the Dodgers. But I thought that was interesting. I wanted to toss that in there because, Vegas is pretty confident that the Braves will make the playoffs at least.
Well, this is right now, right? This is, I'm going to give you the National League leaders. Of course, you got the Dodgers in the West, the Phillies in the East, and the Brewers in the Central. Each of those, the Brewers have a pretty commanding lead. The rest of them, not so much. The wild card, as it stands right now, the Padres have the first wild card. They're 71 and 55. The Arizona Diamondbacks have the second wild card, 71 and 56. And the Atlanta Braves are right there at the third wild card at 67 and 58. Here's a few interesting facts. All three of those teams have the exact same record in their last 10 games. One of the stats that I really look at, they're all three 7 and 3. And then the Padres have a plus 72 run differential. The Diamondbacks have a plus 75 run differential. And the Atlanta Braves have a plus 52 run differential. Now, there are only two more teams in the National League wild card hunt that even have a plus run differential. And one of them is the next team in line, the New York Mets. And the whole reason why I bring this up, they are at 65 and 61. Then there's another team that is 6.5 games out of that last wild card spot. They would be the Cincinnati Reds, and they are the only other team that has a plus run differential, and they actually have the exact same plus run differential at plus 26. So yeah, some interesting things here. That the Braves are right there, and they're 2.5 games up on that third and final wild card spot. So what do you think, Mitch? Can the Braves, even with all their injuries, can they still make the play?
I think they can. It helps they are in that spot right now. I think this Braves team has been there, done that, and they've kind of withstood these playoff pushes late in the season. I think they will again. I think the Mets, have caught some fire and caught some lightning in bottles this year. But
Mhm.
that magic's probably going to come to an end, especially when these games get a lot more intense coming down the stretch.
Okay. So let's move on to our second topic here in the four-pitch talk, which is going to be this particular question. Let's put it at the bottom of our screen for all of our viewers to read. Did you like the Players' Weekend as it was done this past weekend? And the reason why I phrase it this way is it's been done differently in weekends past. So did you like it this past weekend with the bats and the cleats and things like that instead of the jerseys and some of the other ways that they have done Players' Weekend?
Well, I will say I did like that aspect of it where they're allowing players to get more personalized with their bats and cleats. I really thought that was a nice touch. I will say I just don't think they did enough. I really enjoyed the uniforms and jerseys that they had in years past. I thought that was really cool, and the customization of having a nickname on the back of your jersey and
Right.
stuff like that. So I was upset they didn't do that this year. I will say, with a busy weekend, I didn't have as much time to keep track of everything and watch as many games, but I did make it out to the Brewers game on Monday, or excuse me, Sunday. And honestly, it took me a little while to remember that it was Players Weekend until I saw some interesting bats and cleats. So I'd like to make it a little more notable and a little more noticeable when you're at the game, even. That it's clear that it's Players Weekend, and then these players are showing their personality and kind of customizing stuff more than it was this past weekend.
So let me give you a couple things here. I think if they're going to do this, I've got some gripes here. Okay, we're just going to air these grievances. I wish I had a gavel or something. Right, we're going to air these grievances out right now. I wish they'd do it earlier in the year. I wouldn't mind getting one of those bats. Right, you can see it right here. I've got a nice mini bat collection that you can only see about half of in the background. I wouldn't mind getting some of those. Right, I like the bats that they did, but I didn't see anything necessarily for sale. The only thing that I really saw up were auctions where they'd auction off the actual bat that was used. And I'm a cheapskate. I'm not a money bag. I'm not paying that kind of money for a bat. I'm not doing it. But I'd do it for a mini bat, and then I'd take that mini bat to a spring training game and try to get it signed by the player. That would be fantastic. I also like the cleat idea, but it's the same thing. They're not going to sell those cleats. They're not going to make it to where it's available for the average fan. So I would like to see the Players' Weekend have a little bit more effect with the average fan. And I thought the jersey, they were able to do that. Now, my only complaint about the jersey is I wish they'd do it sooner in the year. That would give me some more time to be able to find the counterfeit jerseys and be able to get some of those. I like the jerseys better, and I didn't like it because there were like the same 5 or 6 bats, right? There weren't really a bunch. I think there were more colorful bats in the home run derby than there were in the Players' Weekend, to be honest with you. I mean, all they had were crayons and pencils, and I don't know. I saw a few other little things. They had some. Trying to remember, somebody had a red, white, and blue bat that I really liked. Can't remember who had that bat right offhand, but I did like that. I want to say it was Pete Alonso maybe who had that bat. But they didn't do enough. I agree with exactly what you said. They just didn't do enough. And I have one more gripe to air, and then I'll let you comment on all these things that I'm saying here real fast because I like to hear myself talk every once in a while. But I think they need to do a Players' Weekend 2 different weekends. And the reason why I say that is I think we should have a Players' Weekend at everybody's home park. They only do it one weekend, so therefore you can only have it at half the team's home parks. you're not giving those fans that don't have the home games a chance to see what's going on with their team. You're not giving the fans again. You're just not. It's just not fan engaging enough. It's a nice concept, but they can do so much more with it, and I wish they would. What do you think?
No, I completely agree. I think that is a really good idea, and I also agree that it should be done earlier in the season. It's I won't say it's a gimmick, but
Pretty
it kind of seems like it's done at this time of the year to kind of create some more excitement and get some people out to the ballpark right before teams are in the big playoff push and big playoff races. This is kind of a lull for, I think, the average fans, kind of getting to the end of summer and it's trying to get them back into baseball and get them ready for the postseason push. But I would like to see it earlier in the season. Honestly, probably even right before the All-Star break or a few weeks before the All-Star break, just to kind of break up the season a little bit more, and even more so to get people into the ballpark and kind of sustain that fandom and attendance throughout the whole season instead of when fans are probably starting to think about getting back to the stadiums to support their team for their playoff run.
I wonder if they do it after the MLB trade deadline because there's so many players switching teams.
Yeah.
That was the thought that I had too. And
Yeah.
maybe if somebody comes to me, that's doing marketing and research, and they say, "Hey, boys, you fantastic 643 and out guys who we watch your show every week, and da 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 da. Here's the reason why we're doing it, and does this make sense to you?" That wouldn't make sense to me. But I don't know, I just don't think they do enough. I don't. So we'll see how all that ends up panning out and going with each other. I've got two more questions here, and then we'll wrap it up here rather quickly. But you're the big Brewers guy. I'm not as much of a Brewers guy as what you are. How big of a blow is it to the Brewers right now that they're going to lose Christian Yelich for the entire season?
I'm kind of going back and forth on this one because I do think Christian Yelich is a huge part of this team, and I think he adds a lot to this team, not only on the field but just in the clubhouse and just being a part of the team. And I think that's honestly where they're going to miss him the most, which is saying a lot because of the season that he's had. And I will say, in 315 plate appearances this year, he's got 44 runs, 85 hits, 12 doubles, 3 triples, 11 home runs, and 42 RBIs. But he's only played in 73 games. So the Brewers know how to play without him. They played over 50 games without him this season already. Obviously, like you said, they're losing him for the rest of the season. He's not even going to play half the season for him or in half the games for him.
Right.
So they know how to play without him. Yes, losing him is still going to be a big blow to this team, and they could really, really use his offense. I mean, he was batting .315 this year, and he looked to be back to that MVP form that they really needed him in. But those injuries sideline him and keep him off the field. So it's a tough loss. Don't get me wrong. They're going to miss his bat and his defense for sure. But I think more so than anything, they're going to miss him around the clubhouse and kind of having that veteran presence and just a Milwaukee favorite. That's what they're going to miss the most out of Christian Yelich, which is saying a lot from what he's done when he's actually been on the field this year.
So then, are you disappointed in Christian Yelich?
I'm not disappointed in him. I'm frustrated with his injuries, and I know he's frustrated. I know that he wants to be out there, and especially when you're playing as he was, it's got to be really aggravating to just keep having these nagging injuries come back up. And again, the back strikes again. He's got to get it right, and hopefully, after this surgery, he can come back and be who they need him to be and be a more consistent player for them. So hopefully the start of a new beginning for Christian Yelich.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you to a certain extent. You know what I would love to see, and I don't think this is going to happen, but I would love to see this sometime. An injured player who is going to miss the rest of the season, but when the camera pans into the dugout, all of a sudden you see Christian Yelich sitting back there talking to the young players and doing what he needs to do instead of just kind of sitting at home, on the couch with his 101. Is it well? Okay, so that's a prison term. I'm sorry. With his wife, right? Um, I would love to be able sometime to just when the camera pans and they stop like they're almost surprised, right? Like whoa, isn't that Christian? What is he doing? And he's there because he knows how important all that stuff is. As you were just saying, he is just as much the vocal leader and the rah guy, and he plays that role with that team, and that's really what they're going to miss. Paula says, I think Yelich wants to play and was playing well before he got hurt again. I hope he can get well and stay well after this surgery. And of course, we all wish that. I mean, I'm not the Diamondbacks are with me, the Reds are with me, the Brewers are not, but I don't wish ill will on any player. Well, maybe but I don't wish any will on too many players, at least. Maybe that guy who likes to beat people in the Atlanta Braves dugout. But for the most part, I want to see all these players do well. I want to see the game thrive, even if it's a team that I don't really care for. I do still want to see this game take off, and I want to be able to be entertained when I watch the playoffs and everything else. So I want the best teams out there. I want the best players out there, and I don't want to see a team get taken out of that just because somebody gets hurt. So yes, I was a little surprised when you said that you weren't disappointed. I mean, they're paying Christian Yelich a lot of money to be on the field. I'm sure he's the highest paid player on that team, especially now that Corbin Burns is gone. He may have been the highest paid player before he left, and I didn't look it up as far as that part goes. But you saying that you're not disappointed surprised me a little bit. You're not going to be disappointed?
Well, I'm disappointed in the outcome. I'm disappointed that he has dealt with these injuries and that he is, a key piece of this team and he's not able to make it out there. But I wouldn't say I'm disappointed in Christian Yelich. Obviously, he wants to be out there. He doesn't want to have to be dealing with these injuries anyways. And so in that sense, I'm not disappointed like, oh, he doesn't want it bad enough or, oh, he's, just cashing checks. I do think he really wants to be out there, and it's got to hurt him to not be able to be out there and competing and helping. I'm disappointed in this situation, not himself.
Okay. We're going to do one more here, and I am a big stat guy, right? I love the numbers. Mitch, I know you like numbers as well. We dive into this stuff a lot, especially kind of back and forth with each other, maybe off of the air and stuff like that. But we find stuff that is really interesting, and I'm going to try to bring these to the forefront every podcast that we do. I want to try to get a stat. I keep saying I'm going to do articles called Saturday articles where we take stats from the week and kind of compile everything in one article and let people read them, because sports has a ton of stats that I think a lot of us just don't have the time to scour Twitter for, or we don't have the time to watch MLB Denied every night, because both of us have said, last week we said, oh, we're going to have this thing ready for YouTube, and we're going to have this done, we're going to have that done. And then I had to come on here and be like, I really haven't mentioned it because I didn't want to sound like a loser, but I guess I am, because I haven't had time to do it. Both of us have regular jobs, right? This is not our real job. We are real people just like all of you watching here. We just happen to love this game like a lot of you guys do, and we love talking about it. So once we do this, I want to open this up. I want feedback from all of you guys. Those of you who are watching us live and those of you who are watching us on tape, we're going to put it in most of the articles that we do over on www.welikesportspc.com. It'll be there for you to see on a lot of the articles that we put up. And I don't know, the amen thing might stick around. I kind of like that earlier in the segment. We may have that. We may go to church every week now, just for a few moments. And the other thing that I want to do is, if you've got a great idea for a segment that we can put together with stats, shoot it to us, right? Mitch, what's your Twitter handle so they can shoot it to you if they want? Then we'll give the Twitter handle for the show itself. Go ahead, bud.
Yeah, my personal is at MitchellBrook52. Feel free to send me any of your ideas. We love the feedback from fans and those of you that are watching, even the haters. So let us know what you think, and how we can improve. Maybe send us some of your ideas, and you'll see it on the show, which I think would be really cool too. And I think we can both agree. You know, if you give us an idea and you want to be part of it, we'll have you on, and you can kind of show us your idea of it, and then maybe we'll tweak it a little bit and make it our own. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you at MitchellBrook52 for me personally, and then on our podcast account at the 643 and out pod. Feel free to find us there, either of those, and give us some of your ideas, or just tell us what you think about the show.
Well, haters go to Mitch's account. Those who love us come over to at the 643&OUT pod account. So here's our status. We're going to end it this way today. Mitch, take a guess. Don't look at your notes because it's on the bottom there. I don't know if you noticed it or not. How many games have been pitched this year in Major League Baseball that have 10 or more strikeouts in that game for one team? Not for both teams. One team has struck out 10 or more batters in a game. How many of those games have been pitched this season so far in Major League Baseball?
Well, I kind of cheated because I did see it. But I think if you asked me this honestly before and I hadn't already seen the number, I would say probably 80. You know,
See, I wouldn't
less than 100, I would say for sure. Just based on my memory and how many, pictures. I know there's always a graphic out there when a guy throws that many strikeouts in a game, even if he doesn't go the 6-7 innings. There's still, these teams love putting out the graphics like that. And just based on how many I'd seen, I would have probably said 80.
Okay. See, I wouldn't have gone that high. I probably wouldn't have gone much more than 50, to be honest with you. But we're going to find out some interesting stuff on these real quick, and then we're going to wrap it up here with this. 10 strikeouts or more by a pitcher this season has happened 149 times. And I can give you the exact breakdown because of at Codified Baseball. We follow them on our account. You should follow them on yours as well, at CODIFY Baseball. Codified Baseball will give you these stats and a lot of other great things. There have been 4 teams that have done it 9 times this season. Those 4 are the Minnesota Twins, the Atlanta Braves, the San Diego Padres, and the LA Dodgers. There have been 3 teams who have done it 7 times. Washington, believe it or not, the Chicago White Sox, and the Houston Astros. 6 times, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Kansas City, those beloved Detroit Tigers, Baltimore, and Boston. 2 teams have done it 5 times, Toronto and Cincinnati. 6 teams have done it 4 times, by far the most. Pittsburgh, Arizona, the New York Mets, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, the Chicago Cubs, and the Tampa Bay Rays. Miami, St. Louis, the New York Yankees, the Texas Rangers, and the Cleveland Indians have all done it 3 times. Mitch, wouldn't you consider Seattle to be one of the best pitching staffs in baseball right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think anyone would, right?
One would, right? How many times have they had 10-plus strikeouts in a game? Twice, along with the Milwaukee Brewers. The Seattle Mariners, the Milwaukee Brewers have done it once. The the Milwaukee Brewers in Seattle have done it twice. The Colorado Rockies have done it once. And the Oakland A's haven't done it all season long. Oakland really playing a lot better here lately. But I thought that was pretty interesting as far as those amount of strikeouts, which teams have done it more. Like some of those teams that were listed there, I would have never thought. The injuries that have happened in L.A., the Chicago White Sox being up towards the top, and then the Seattle Mariners being down towards the bottom. All of those things really kind of surprised me. So, Mitch, does a pitcher have to dominate in order to win?
No, you definitely don't. I think we see that a lot with teams like the Diamondbacks, where a lot of times their starting pitching has been shaky throughout the season. Pretty much any time Jordan Montgomery has taken the mound. Like as you said earlier, Merrill Kelly has had some starts. And with an offense like Arizona has, they can still win those games without a dominant pitcher. And honestly, sometimes being a dominant pitcher isn't finishing with 10 plus strikeouts. You can be a dominant ground ball pitcher in this league. And the strikeouts are a flashy thing to see. And it makes it obvious that you've dominated that game as a pitcher, but you can still dominate a game without 10 plus strikeouts. I think we're just, kind of going to the strikeout era more than we have in the past, and that's why we're kind of seeing these numbers.
Right. Yeah, that's how we're going to end everything this evening. I really like those stats. And again, if one of you guys out there that's listening to us live, listening to us on the tape delay, you've got some great ideas as far as what should we call the segment, share it with us. We gave you the addresses. You know what they are. Jump on board with us. Facebook. We have our own Facebook right at the moment. You can go over and get us at Facebook is 643&OutGuys as well. Look us up there. Mitch, what's our YouTube going to be in the next few weeks? What's that going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be at the 643&OutGuys on YouTube, so you can find us there as well. One last thing for me, I do want to give another shout out to Millard Thomas, the host of the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast we had on earlier. If you're just joining us now, it's the end of the show. Don't cry. You can still go back and listen. And we had a really great segment talking some Diamondbacks to start with Millard earlier. So please feel free to rewatch that. Go follow him at Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. And we hope to hear from you soon with the feedback and any ideas you might have to improve this show as well.
Right. So you guys can read Paul's comments there. No hitters doesn't mean that everybody struck out. So the strikeouts are important, but there is more to pitching than that. 100% agree. I don't know why you're crying, Paul. Why? Are you crying because the show's over? It's okay, Paul. We're going to post this all over the place. It'll be on a lot of articles on www.weLikeSportsPC.com. It will be up on our Twitter account where you can go and look at everything. It will also be over on our Facebook and soon to come on our YouTube channel as well. Once again, I want to thank Mitch for being with us. I want to thank all of you guys for being with us. I want to thank our very special guest from Locked on Diamondbacks for being with us as well. And as always, the only thing that's fair in life is a baseball hit between the third and the first base line. Good evening, everyone. Hey, Mitch, let's dance our way out. You ready?
I like that.
Oh, wait, I can't dance and hit the button at the same time.